has invented a substitute for perfection. And that substitute is called perfectionism, which is this crazy mechanism in our mind that we're trying to, in this case with the movie Perfect Christmas, she was trying to have the perfect Christmas. She was recalling this little train set and this little Christmas village that she had seen as a child, and she had told her brother, "Wonder where this is?" And he said, "That's just a train set in a store window. That's not a real place." But there was something in longing in her for there to be that Christmas scene, to have that Christmas that her mother always talked about in Ireland, and she wanted to almost like recapture it, recreate it, bring it in. And thus begins the perfectionism, you know, the trying to make sure the food is just right, the decorations are just right, make sure that you got your outfits you want to be wearing, your hair's just right, and all these, every little thing that the ego would tell you, just make sure nothing goes wrong in form. And that starts to drive us into a search for the perfect, but it's through external means. We're looking somehow to achieve a perfect world or a perfect outcome. And I think that's one thing that Jesus really teaches us in the Course, is that peace of mind is a perfect outcome, but it's not, it doesn't look a certain way. It doesn't have an expectation. It doesn't have a particular form associated with it. And that takes a lot to let that go. It's almost like people say, wait a minute, why am I educating myself? Why am I working so hard? Why am I striving? Why am I driving myself if there is no perfect form? Why is it that I'm doing this? And I would say it's a defense mechanism of a perfectionism trying to overcome a sense of lack and inadequacy, and of just basically feeling alone and not loved. That's the fall from grace experience, is feeling alone or isolated, disconnected.
And that is very dark, like in this world. We try to search and find this love through different means, through, growing up, in my own experience, through trying to achieve the worldly accomplishment, approval from the parents, approval from peers, and everything. And yet, until I found the Spirit, then all of a sudden there is something that is fulfilling, that starts to fulfill this hole in the heart, starts to fulfill. And yet the ego still comes in to say, seek elsewhere. It can't be that simple. It can't be that simple. It's complicated. You need to find love from this place, from everywhere else. But you can't just go simply into the mind and call Spirit's name, because that's way too simple. But over the years, what I found out is that it actually is that simple. The moment I'm willing to say all these problems that I'm facing, and I quit to try to find the answer, and I literally just go inward to say, Spirit, I'm with you now. Immediately, that's where the peace comes. And I feel like the best way for me to describe this journey is a gradual journey of choosing only that. So that choice has always been there from the beginning. I could always choose the Spirit among all the different choices. And the journey is literally a journey of eventually have everything simplified to only one choice all the time. And that's it. There is no other learning. There is no other effort. It's just somehow, it takes as long as it takes for the mind to be willing to say, okay, I quit, to choose anything else. And Spirit is the only choice. And I think that is why Jesus says, let this year be different, make this year different by making it all the same, he literally means that do not have different purpose in any decision. Choose to see everything with the same purpose. Choose to behold holiness in everything you see and everyone you meet, and choose to see everything with me. And there's no other purpose in absolutely anything in life. And when that becomes simple, when that becomes single, then that becomes very, very simple life and fulfilling life.
That's the answer to everything. Just to tell yourself, I am a bringer of love. I am a bringer of light. I am a bringer of joy. That is my only purpose. That is my only function. I have no other function. All other make-believe functions are meaningless. They're irrelevant. Imagine as a child, if you were just at the point where you were beginning to understand your parent and the words of your parent, and your mother or your dad just pulled you aside and said, come here, just sit on my knee for a minute and just listen to me. And then whispered into your ear, you are here to bring joy. That is the only reason you are here. And you should live your life from a place of joy. What really, really makes you happy is going to bring happiness to everyone. It will come through you. It will be given you if it is what you desire to be your function. And imagine with parents or teachers or guidance counselors or advisors, all the way through our life, imagine if we had this voice telling us, remember, just be joyful. Don't be concerned about the way things work out. Don't try to judge what's best in terms of the world. You're just here to bring that joy, to bring that happiness. And that is what holiness is. Holiness is happy, and holiness extends that joy and that happiness. Even in Christmas, a lot of people remember carolers going around and singing. It's a dark, cold night, and then all of a sudden you see there's a group of people outside, and you look and they've got some lights and some candles, and then they start singing in the dark. And you can hear it outside your door, and you open your door up, and then there's a whole group of people singing to you, serenading you. And that's the joy of caroling. It's almost a reflection right from the Bible. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Well, caroling is a pretty joyful noise. It sounds pretty good. It's not. It really is great, and that's kind of the way our life is to be. We're to have that song going inside of us and radiating and singing through us. Whether we're singing the music or words, or whether we're it's our attitude that is singing, that's really what the spirit of Christmas is all about. And I think, the ego will come in like, well, yeah, that sounds terrible, bah humbug. It just doesn't like the whole idea of joy and happiness, and it just doesn't believe that that's practical. And it took me a lot of years, to start to just keep going inside to that and going, how do I feel about that? What is my motive underneath my actions? What is the motive underneath my behaviors? Am I inspired? Am I doing this out of a sense of joy and happiness? And I think progressively, as I started to just give myself over to this calling, then I could be up all hours of the day and night doing things, whether it's outside or at a computer. A lot of it was just communication things, way more communication than I ever imagined was even possible. But it was just an inspiration coming through. It was inspired communication.
You are listening to Awakening to True Happiness with Mystic David Hoffmeister. To learn more about David's teachings, visit davidhoffmeister.com.
When Jesus starts talking about our mind, our holy mind, living in the mind of God, that we are an idea in the mind of God, he gets firmer and firmer and firmer in the Course. He says, you are mind, holy mind, purely mind. You are not mind-body. Jesus is not even a fan of mind-body-spirit festivals. He's like, why would you go to that? When you're a mind, you're purely mind, you're a divine mind, you're not a body, you've never been a body, and frankly, if you just give the use of that body over to the Holy Spirit for a while, you'll forget that you're a body. That body will disappear from your awareness. Because, number one, God didn't create it, God doesn't even know about it, and so why would you keep your mind so limited and so fixated on something that doesn't even exist? So people say, that's kind of strong. Yeah, he says, at no single instant does the body exist at all. It's always remembered or anticipated. It's this mesmerism of time. It's just an invention of the ego. It's just a game. And yet if you're honest and you take a look at your daily life and your top 40 thoughts that are on your top 40 moving through there, you'll see that they're very body related. And so you start off thinking, well, I'm a human being among other human beings. You might be wearing a t-shirt that says, I am a body, I exist in time and space, I exist in I must meet my needsville. I must meet my needsville. That's the name of my cosmos. I must meet my needsville. Today, again, I must meet my needsville. There's no free lunch. The government is not going to meet my needs. It's a hostile world, the ego says, and you got to survive. You're a body that's got to survive. No wonder JP was blacking out, thinking of the future, because it's enough to make you black out. It's Stressville is I must meet my needsville. And if you go through your whole day, how am I going to meet my needs today? How am I going to meet my needs today? If that's all your mind is occupied with, is just meeting body needs, then that's very dark. You're not going to know your own holiness. What Jesus is training us to do through all this mind training is he's teaching us, he says the body is outside you, but it seems to surround you, shutting you off from others. He says it right there, the body is outside you. The body is outside you. The body is not in your divine mind, the body is outside you. It's a distraction, it's a cloaking device, like the Klingons had in Star Trek. It's a cloaking device to keep you from knowing who you are as a spiritual being. And so, if you're just focused on meeting body needs all day long, you're not really giving space for that holy instant, that moment of recognition. That moment when you just relax and in your mind you're just smiling like, ah. And so you're not going to go from this fixation on the body to pure spirit without a transition. And that transition is your purpose. It's your life's calling. It's your function. That's going to help your mind rise up to, love lift us up where we belong. The Joe Cocker song. That's what that whole song is about. Is coming up higher and higher. What was it? Steve Winwood had a song, Bring Me Higher Love, Ho. All these songs, popular songs that are calling on a higher love, and it just takes the willingness to relax into your function, like JP did. He basically his company said, we're moving. He said, I'm not going. He got his